So this is likely to be controversial, and that's fine. It's something that I have talked about a little bit before, but it's been a while, and it's still with me. It's a recurring experience. There's a lot swirling that I want to acknowledge. There's a tremendous amount of thought that centers around this topic. And by thought, I mean simply that. Having this, not my thought, because thought doesn't belong to me. Thought doesn't belong to anyone. Thought arises spontaneously. There is no thinker. I just went off on a whole little tangent online and realized that this is not a conversation that I could have with most people. And that's not a judgment. That's just a statement of fact. That's just awareness that the conversation, in particular in regards to this topic, which is going to be health specifically, although beauty has become attached to that. While there are people discussing it in different spheres, to discuss it at this level of, I don't know how to use these words, man. To recognize that what we're talking about is conditional. Ultimately, the health and the beauty that we're talking about is inherently subjective and conditional, and it's not even actually ours. Talking about my health, my fitness, my attractiveness, that in 99.99999% of those conversations, what we're talking about is the condition of a form that is inherently unstable, and that yes, we are experiencing, we're inhabiting, and is a natural expression of the being which we are, but it is not us. And to base, this is so hard, and there's so much challenge internally from the mind on this, to qualify my experience of health, to base my experience of my health on the conditions of a form, of the form that I'm inhabiting, is inherently precarious, because those conditions are conditional. It's circumstantial. To say that my health and my experience of my own vitality, my own well-being, my own attractiveness is dependent upon anything to do with the form. Can you feel how that, to me, there's an immediate disconnect. I'm giving away my power. I'm not talking about me anymore. And I'm limiting my experience of my own being. To say that my experience of my own vitality requires the form to meet a certain set of conditions that are then qualified as healthy, that I must meet these conditions to meet the definition of healthy, to be allowed to experience vitality. Do you hear what I'm saying? When vitality is inherent to me, vitality is an essential experience of my being. I am life. I am life. I am living. I am life force flowing. I can't be separate from vital. I cannot be separated from the experience of vitality. I am the experience of vitality. That is what I am. I am the experience of attractiveness and attraction. I am the experience of well-being. Do you feel this? To get confused about that, to think, to believe, to allow the belief, which means aligning myself with the mind, and therefore to think and believe something, that my own experience of what I am is dependent upon what I'm not. And again, it's so hard to talk about this because yes, this is an expression, there's an expression emerging, but it is what it is. It doesn't have any like correlation to the deeper characteristics of being. It's just expression. It's like, it's all beautiful. It's all health. It's all well-being. It's all exactly as it should be. To like look at a physical body that is in some form of deterioration, and to think that that is indicating not health, when that's, of course, that's what the mind says, and there's so much, this is where all the chatter is, but realizing that that's just not true. The experience of this form, the rise and fall of this form, the fluctuation of this form, the variations, the change of the shape, the definition, whatever, the strength, the capabilities of this form, the shifting of that means nothing about the life that is inhabiting and animating this form, the true being that is. That just because this form looks a certain way, or the capabilities of it in this moment are of a certain quality, that doesn't mean anything about the health, the vitality of that being. Do you feel this? It's not a reflection of the deeper state in the way that the mind perceives it to be, because everything is inherently neutral. And that neutrality means there isn't an unhealthy, so to speak. I know that this is controversial. I understand. This is where a lot of people get off board, and I'm not here to tell anybody what is right or wrong, what they should or shouldn't feel or think. This is my experience, my perspective, and an expression of that. And I am aware that there is an element of ego that is like seeking validation, and I want to put that out there, that there's an awareness of that. And also recognize that this is how I feel at a deeper level. This is how I feel. This is an affirmation to myself of what I feel and what I know to be true. And my truth does not dethrone anyone else's truth for themselves, and vice versa. If my truth isn't true for somebody else, that's okay. It doesn't mean anything either way. I know that there is joy in movement. I know that there is joy in rest. That rest is itself a sort of movement, actually. I just have yet to for myself, experience, how do I put this? I have yet to feel moved internally to move in any way that isn't connected to ego. There's like a tiny bit. There's some stretching that I enjoy because it feels good. Like if the muscle, there's no result that I'm seeking. It's not so much about like a being healthy or anything like that. It's just like this very minimal amount of stretching that is a limbering of joints, and then there's like less stiffness. Maybe that's it, but not even every time. Like, that's not even true every time. There's plenty of times that stretching happens and the body still feels whatever. And so, but anything beyond that, if I even start to do it, it's like there's this immediate trigger of ego. I know I'm failing to connect things and verbalize them in the way that I would like to. That's okay. I just want to let my body be. I just want to let this body be. And if it wants to move, then I'll allow it to move, but not for the purpose of creating health, because that health is an illusion. The health is already here. There's no separating myself from health. So if the body wants to move, then it gets to move for the purpose of moving. That's it. That's it. For the purpose of experiencing movement. Not to create health. Health is not separate from me. Not to create beauty. Beauty is not separate from me. Not to create well-being, and certainly not to create a good feeling about myself, like security or esteem, because that is not separate from me, ever. I don't need to do anything to be healthy, to be happy, to feel healthy, to feel happy. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to change anything. That's all conditional. I don't need to modify conditions, because I am not separate from those experiences. I am those experiences. Do you feel that? I am well-being. I am vitality. I am attractiveness and attraction. That is true universally. That can't be changed. My genuine desire is to realize that, which means to dwell in the knowing of that. Trust that. Feel that. Not believe it, not theorize it. Experience it. Experience myself as vitality. And that is unconditional. That means, regardless of the conditions of this body or anything else, that is what I am. And I know that joyful movement is possible, movement for the sake of the experience of movement, with the realization that it does nothing, that it is not creating a result, that it is not creating health. It might perhaps contour some other condition, the circumstances, the conditions of a form, but that doesn't mean anything. That's not an indication of health or well-being or beauty. It's just a change of shape. That means nothing. And I'm very aware that in the early stages, in the beginning of this, I was wrapped up very much in ego and in control and discipline. That word, discipline, that's a word invented by the mind. Willpower, invented by the mind, and held up as this amazing thing. Achieve that. Oh yeah. Where in nature is discipline? I don't see it anywhere. I see things naturally being as they are. I see no concern whatsoever for meeting a standard. There are no standards. There's no comparison. There's no concern. There just is. Animals are not concerned about survival. They just exist. They do what is natural to them, which is to be themselves. The mind, empirical science, looks at this and cuts it up and draws all kinds of conclusions, invents all of these stories. I just see life being joyful. I just see life enjoying the expression of itself, wholly unconcerned. Because the death of a form, even as life is expressing through that form, is not indicative of unhealth. That is not an end of vitality. That is not a lack of vitality. The condition of the form means nothing. It just is. Life doesn't get less well because of the experience of the death of form. And life is that which we are. Life is the only real thing underneath. Yes, again, the expression is of life, and it's real in a sense, but it's not this deeper. There's a deeper level of what is. And that's not to like negate the experience of what is at the surface level, but it is surface level. And that is, to me, that's integration. That's what integration is to be that which you are at the deep level, experiencing what is occurring at the surface level, secure in the depth of your being, therefore unperturbed by, not threatened by the surface level of experience. It's not a threat to your being. It is what you are experiencing. Yes. And by rooting in that deeper being, you feel the freedom and security and the space to really, truly accept, to really, truly experience what is happening in the surface. That's where you have access to that. When you are you. When you are being, when you are rooted in that sense of self, that's your sense of self, is being. And you're aware that this doesn't change. This is unchanging. What you are is unchanging. What you are is eternally stable, eternally well, eternally vital, beautiful. Rooted in that, you have the security to trust the experience of even something that appears to be the total opposite. And you can go into that experience. You can feel fully what is at this surface level. And that is acceptance, is the full experience of it. And you're not shaken from your root in being, in the deeper knowledge of you. The deeper experience of you is happening first and foremost, and then this upper level experience that is within you, it's within your experience, it is what you are experiencing, is happening too. And this is the fullness of what is, and in the fullness of what is, it all is allowed, and it's experienced fully, and it's integrated. But it doesn't change you. It doesn't change anything. You can experience all of the vicissitudes of this form level fully, really diving deep into them, immersing yourself in them, feeling them fully, owning this is what I am experiencing right now. This is what is. But this what is does not change what is. What is eternally. I am. What is? I am. No experience of myself is based on the conditions of the form. I can experience the conditions of the form, one way or another, but they don't mean anything. They don't mean anything about me. And because they don't mean anything about me, I am safe and secure in my being to fully experience them. That's all I have to say. I mean, clearly it isn't, because I haven't stopped recording, but nothing else is coming. They're just the awareness that there's a lot of stuff moving in here. Aware that there's a degree of association with mind and mind's resistance to itself, and feeling this subtle difference between being the mind resisting itself, arguing against itself, and standing in being, trusting actually my being, and trusting that knowledge. And noticing that mind does want to argue. There is a sense of threat there. That some of the challenge of bringing this up is the awareness that I haven't fully settled confidently into this place in my being. I've known it, I've touched it, but it's still fragile. It's still easy for it to turn from knowing into believing, because the mind takes back over and I get sucked back into that. And when I'm in the mind, it's unstable. It becomes about convincing, it becomes about proving, explaining, justifying, right? All of that, when the reality is that I don't have to justify anything. If this is a mental position, then the mind feels a need to defend it, and if I am mind identified, that need to defend feels like mine, and I'm aware of that sensation. That there's a difference between a no that is retaliatory and defensive, and a no that is just nope. This as a mental position, as a belief, is precarious. And it's attacked by the mind. Of course, the mind plays both sides. So the mind is the opposition and the mind is the defense. And really it just wants to create this sensation of struggle, of opposition, of that. And now I'm just witnessing that. Now I'm just seeing that happen and feeling that sensation. And I'm very aware how this may seem like a tangent, but it's what comes up. And I could have mentioned it before, but anyways, how exercise, how movement for me has been a mechanism of control. Control of emotion, control of anxiety, control of feelings of shame or fear, anything emerging from fear. Physical exercise has been a means of escaping those sensations. And I don't want to escape them. I want to feel them. And for some time now, for a little over a year, that has meant not exercising. And there has been tremendous influxes, experiences, intense experiences of shame, of fear, and I don't want to control them anymore. I don't want to run from them. And I have not found a way to engage in exercise, really movement very much at all, that has not been turned into a mechanism immediately in that moment. Even if it didn't feel like I was running from shame or something in the moment that it initiated, the movement initiated, 90% of the time it turns into what I can tell, what I can feel is like a building up of reinforcements, a building up of esteem. Again, that like their superiority just comes in immediately. It feels so just egoic. I have not found a way to move. I've found very few ways to move that haven't been immediately used for the purposes of building up ego. Either escaping its sensation of diminishment or building up what it perceives as like a defense against that diminishment. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying this is my experience thus far. And so for the past year, there has been very little exercising, because I want to actually experience the sensations of shame and anxiety. I want to feel that. I'm aware to many people that would sound crazy. I want to feel that. I want to integrate that. My awareness is that these sensations are a large part of what I am here to experience, to integrate that. It's not a punishment. They're not bad sensations. They are sensations. They're sensational. I have the awareness that my experience of that is and can be absolutely joyful. That I have a strong desire to experience these sensations: shame, anxiety, fear, anger. How novel, how incredible to feel that. I want it. I want to feel it. And that's just genuinely true. And so anything that combats them, that buffets them back, I don't have a desire to engage with. I want to invite the sensation. I'm here to experience that and integrate it into being. Which really means to dissolve it into being. But it's not about changing it. It's not like making it go away. It's just that's what naturally sort of happens. It doesn't go away. It's really hard to explain. It's just seen as beautiful. It's just realized in its pure underlying state. It's realized as beautiful. It's realized as exciting. It's realized as interesting. It's realized as joyful. The presence of anything is not an obstacle to joy. It can just as easily be a catalyst for it, for greater joy, for expanded joy, for intensified joy. The joy is always there, it doesn't need anything, but it is intensified by the witness of anything. Anyway. I want to experience all these sensations, not to run from them, not to control them. There is nothing that feels good about control. There isn't. I can't tolerate it anymore. It's immediately just this anything to do with controlling. I control nothing. I let all things be. That is the only way for me. In letting all things be, I let myself be. I be myself most fully. And so I find it is, again, just about being deeply what I am, knowing that that is what is, and then also that what is experienced in this moment is what is. And this combined, expanded view of what is ambrosia. It's delicious. And there is nothing to do there. It's just like soaking this in. It's just, it's like, ha 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 ha. And it doesn't matter what is. Shame, fear, pain, all of that can add to my joy. And that is my intention. That is it. Take it easy. I love you.